What's going on, you beautiful rejects out there? How are you doing? Welcome back to Rejection and Reflection, and thank you for coming back. Today, I have, she's like literally a soul sister. She's also literally my old roommate, and she is one of my favorite dancers of all time. Not just dancers, artists. I mean, I love when she did music. I love when she was acting. Just artist. She is brilliant. She exudes confidence, authenticity, and an awareness of a craft that is so little accomplished in many. So, Erin Yvonne is on with me today.
Hi. That was an introduction, honey. Wow.
I mean, all real life, real
Yeah,
life. I mean, we've known each other since we were 18, 19, 20.
18.
Yeah. A few years ago for us, as you can tell by the way we look so youthful and young still.
Nothing has changed, honey. Only internally, but the outside looks
It's getting,
refreshed.
it's
Yeah.
getting better. It is aging like fine wine, right?
Yes, good karma only.
And that hair, by the way, I know we kind of briefly talked about it, but like, I was like, is that fake? It's so perfect. She's like,
Oh,
no.
no, it's all mine.
And back in the day, it was all about having weave and extra and all that good stuff. And I was like, why? Where? When did you need it?
Yes, it's popping. Hair is here. It's a hair jacket. I love it.
Well, I'm sure with that heat in LA, it's probably pulled back and up and off of the jacket, so it's more of the tank just living without it. But
Yes, the mom life now. It's a mom bun.
oh my gosh, the Mamba life.
Yes.
How did we
Yeah.
first meet? Do you remember?
I just feel like my first memory is us just on set everywhere with like Britney and like NSYNC. And just, I feel like I honestly feel like we were always together.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, seriously, I don't remember a moment where it was like, this is Gus, this is Erin. Like, I just feel like we were always together.
Yeah, we were really like spent a lot of, well, we were roommates too, but we were in the same circle. We shared a lot of the memories that we just spoke of, beautiful memories together. And you know, in those days, it's kind of like this day and age. You know, when you're a working dancer, you kind of cultivate a crew together and you work together, and it's just a scene together. It's a community that you build, really. And so we've shared so many work moments, personal moments, life moments. Just it's been really beautiful when I get to think about the experiences that we've been able to endure together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important to have your people in any industry, really, in life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had each other in business, career, life, good times, bad times, growth times. Ah!
Yeah. I
Those are
mean,
the scariest times.
well, we shared our most pivotal growth years together, our late teens, early 20s to 30s, you know. I know we haven't seen each other in a really long time, but and that's because we were doing our own adjustments and growing into the people that we are today. And um, those 20s, though, we shared so many pivotal experiences that have really brought us to the space that we embody in this moment right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's amazing. I'm so grateful that we got to share those together.
I know. I know. So many huge moments. So many huge moments that were like the root of so much.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
Speaking of so much, as we all know, this is rejection and reflection.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
we want to get into that juicy subject with you. And what do you think was the most? I know it's just hard for people to just maybe place one thing, but you know, and someone like you has done so much work and unraveled all of the other pieces. You could probably name a trillion things at this point that are all a part of the accumulation of the reflecting, right? But is there like one piece of rejection that has just really been that catapult to being this incredible human being that you are today? You've always been incredible, but who you are right now in this moment, I should say.
So I feel like my story is like it's so not cute, and it's so not the like namaste yoga pants forest photo shoot moment. You know, I really want it to be, but it's my story is just not like there's like I don't even have to search my mind for like a moment. It's in 2017 something so big happened to me that it changed the trajectory of my entire freaking life. Like um so just like a brief backstory is, you know, in my early 20s, I was in a really toxic relationship. He ended up like getting addicted to drugs. I kicked him out. He didn't want to leave. He would like stalk me and, you know, show up at my friends' houses while we're partying and like try and beat up guys that were talking to me and like break into my house at like 5 o'clock in the morning on cocaine and drunk. And I literally shattered windows and called the police. It was like so much trauma. At the time, I had no fucking idea that what I was enduring was trauma. Had no clue. Trauma wasn't the hot topic then. You know, it was very much like, holy shit, what the fuck? Just reacting, you know? And so when I think everybody usually has a toxic relationship, you know, to kind of like mold and learn, but that was like on another level. So that was like a pivotal moment in my life. And I was still working and still so booked as a dancer, still making good money, still taking care of myself, you know, doing so good. So that's like something right there is that just you can be going through trauma and have your shit together on the outside. Like you can be mean on the outside and then going through your own personal hell on the inside and maybe not even be aware of it yet. Maybe you're just responding to it.
I
Like,
was just gonna say that. Well, you know, I was there for
mhm.
that whole period in your life, and we had conversations then, I believe, and they weren't easy conversations to have back then. Um, you were definitely in that space of just with you had no understanding of how to cope with it, and as your friends and people that loved you, we saw it before you did, and we tried bringing it to your awareness. But you, I want to say you rejected that. You just didn't know what to do. You didn't want to
Yeah,
believe it. Just all the stuff that we do when we're in a toxic relationship,
yeah,
all the
yeah,
things we do to justify that this is fine and I'm okay. I'm okay because my outside world is okay. I'm
yeah.
okay in here. Um,
And even from that's just like the time. That's like I'm just giving you the root, the very beginning of
yeah,
that. So there's that moment, and then you know, finally when that was over, you know, it's like when you're going through trauma, you don't know you're going through trauma at the time. When it's over, you're just like, get me the hell away from anything, like, what the hell was that? So I ran and I hid and I ran and I hid and I was like, nope, I don't even know how to face that feeling, the energy, what happened, what the limiting beliefs that you pick up when you've gone through a traumatic scenario. You pick up a new identity, you pick up new beliefs, you pick up things that you believe to be true that are not fucking true, you know. So I had a whole suitcase of baggage, and I did the drinking, I did the partying, I did I'm not going home until 4 a.m. because I don't want to sit with myself, I don't know how to with myself, I don't know what to do, you know. So for a few years, I was like the party girl. And then in 2017, the universe said, guess what, boo? You have a lot of shit unhealed. It's time to sit down and it's time to be with all this shit. And because I didn't know I was going through trauma, I didn't know back then was trauma. How many of you have heard of time will heal it? Time does not heal. That's becoming a life coach and a hypnotherapist. That's the main thing. Like, write that shit down. Time does not heal. Just because it's been 10 years, that doesn't mean magically after 10 years, the trauma just dissipated and just flew away. And now, you know, if it's still alive in your body, you know, then you still have the limiting beliefs. You could still take the action toward the goal. You could still be doing all the things, but internally your belief system could be, I don't believe this could really happen for me. I don't, God knows, I don't feel good about myself. Or maybe you have daily anxiety attacks. Maybe you have panic attacks because your body is like, I still am holding on to this grief, this embarrassment, this shame, this guilt, So my body had been holding it for years, even though I was like, oh, that was 5 years ago, that was 6 years ago, I'm good, but I was still coping. I was drinking a lot. And at the time I was just like, well, I'm fun, I'm drinking, But now when I look back, I'm like, wow, I was using alcohol to cope, to numb, to hide, to not feel the grief, the shame, the anger. You know what I mean? I was hiding it. I was numbing it. And so in 2017, the universe was like, nope, you're going to sit down. And I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called Graves' disease. Yeah. And it affected my eye. And I was like, oh my God, I literally freaked out. Was on vacation in Hawaii, loving my life. And my eyes started my eyelids started to retract backwards. And I was like, why is my eye doing this? What's going on? Like instant trauma, instant flight or fight mode. So we go back home after our trip. And I got diagnosed then, and I had to start medication. And at first I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to be on medication. My eye's going to get better, blah, blah, blah. Still not understanding the gravity of this disease, So that moment in 2017 changed the trajectory of my life. I had just started on-camera hosting, so I was working a lot as an on-camera host, doing red carpet interviews behind backstage for So You Think You Can Dance, just working already. And instantly, in an instant, I was like, that's done. I cannot do that anymore. And so the first year of that diagnosis, I hid it completely because my face was disfigured completely. And I literally hid in my house, didn't go out, didn't do anything, was damn near suicidal because I was like, this was my job, this was my career, my face is everything. So such a scary, dark time. And me being able to talk about it and not bust out into tears is just the proof of the inner work. And there's a saying, when you can talk about it without crying, that's how you know you've healed. That's how you know you've turned it, you've alchemized it into wisdom, embodied wisdom, But literally, okay, so that happened to me. I ended up having to have a procedure because my eyelid would not close. It was stuck open. I would go to sleep and my eyelid would be open. It could not close. So I had to get a procedure done. It was so intense.
Oh.
And that's why I was saying I wanted it to be a yoga retreat for you guys, But your girl has gone through some real shit. So
it's so interesting though that it was your eye, and you keep referencing the fact that you couldn't see. You couldn't see what was really going on. And yet it was well,
yeah.
You're not going to close. You're not going to close. You're going to see right now. It is your path. It's your destiny to see. You must see. It's why you're here. Yeah. It's what I feel when you talk about that.
So, I mean, I literally, for the whole year, I was in flight or fight mode and freeze mode.
I can imagine.
I don't know if you know the stages of trauma, but flight or fight is where you feel like a freaking elephant is chasing you in the wild and you're like, run, hide. That's flight or fight. And we can feel that every day. You know what I mean? If your nervous system is dysregulated. So basically now, knowing all I know now, back then, I look back and I'm like, ooh, my nervous system was dysregulated for 5, 6, 7 years. Mm-hmm. And what was I doing? Drinking and smoking and just adding on a collecting shit. You know what I mean? Because when you start partying too much, then you start creating more things you have to heal from.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing about addiction.
Keeps building.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about addiction is that, and I say this to all my one-on-one clients now, that trauma is the root of addiction. Yeah. Period. Mm-hmm. Because if you didn't have something that you needed to heal from, then you wouldn't be using something to cope, you know? So in 2017, 2018, I was full flight or fight, literally praying for my life, like so confused, because imagine you're partying for like 5 years, pushing away, shoving in the corner, numbing, hiding, avoiding, ignoring. And then all of a sudden you open the door and it's like, just like comes, piling on top of you. So I was in flight or fight mode. And in 2018, I saw a hypnotherapist because I was like, well, I had already obviously stopped drinking so intensely at that moment because I was like, well, I have something. I have a fucking disease now. Like,
Yeah, I got strengthened immune
I
system.
have to face
Yeah.
this shit. So after 2018, the whole year of gagging, being stunned and in freeze mode, that's after that, I literally was like suicidal because I was like, how is the rest of my life gonna go? Like, this is all I know. On camera shit is all I know. Being an on camera personality at this point was all I knew.
Your talent got you where you were, but it was that beautiful, gorgeous face of yours that was also the added cherry on top. And yes,
Yeah. Well, and
that's your
you can
livelihood.
go out for auditions if your eye is like fucked up. You know what I mean? At that point, and this is what's so intense is that obviously, talent doesn't matter when your face looks a certain way. And I don't have that belief, but that's just the way Hollywood is,
Yeah.
So after a full year of like sitting with God in the dark is what it felt like. After that, I went and saw a hypnotherapist and I was like, hey, I want to stop drinking. I had already like basically stopped drinking, but I just knew that that was step one for me. Like never just letting it go, And what's so beautiful now that I'm a hypnotherapist, and that's the reason I became a hypnotherapist. When I experienced it, I was like, ooh, I need to learn how to do this for my mom, for my dad, for my family, for everyone out there who has ever gone through something so traumatic that you don't speak about it. You drink about it. You smoke about it. You anxiety, panic attack about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, and that is the whole reason of like, that's the whole rejection for me was, okay, girl, sit with your shit. You've got 10 years of trauma. You've got 10 years of shame, regret, fear, anger, let's heal this shit. And so that really started my like healing journey. And
can I stop you for a second? Can we go back before 10 years ago, before the 10 years of which you speak of? Do you remember when you started avoiding and dealing? Like, do you remember, did you learn it from your parents when you were a little kid? Did something happen that was like, oh, it's easier for me just to keep unconsciously packing on and not dealing with? Because that's kind of what happened for that 10 years, right? Essentially. And that was an innate trait that was learned long before that started. Do you know what that was?
See, well, this is what's crazy is, so a lot of people have that awareness of like inner child healing and like, oh, when I was a child, this happened and that's why I do this now. But for me, it was a mid 25 healing. For me, at 25 was when that relationship ended. All the like baggage, the toxicity, the dysfunction happened in that relationship. And as it was ongoing is when I was like, I don't know how to deal with this. This person's following me to parties. I don't know how to deal with this. That's when I started to drink and smoke and just avoid because I didn't know how to deal with that at that time, but everything in my childhood. And that's what's crazy is there's no one size fits all for healing because my childhood was great. It really, for me, my inner child is blossomed. She's amazing. It was that mid 20s version of me that endured all that like toxicity in that relationship. And that's where I felt like I had to start avoiding, ignoring, hiding, shaming, things like that. Yeah.
That's great. I love that you said that because I hadn't really been able to digest what you just said until this moment right now. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like that was the moment in your life. It wasn't when you were 9 years old and Rebecca shamed you for having pretty hair.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh my God. And you were thriving in your youth. You were, you said your parents were great parents. You were dancing. You were excelling at that. And, none of that came to consciousness until 25. It's rare that I see that, and it's like when you talk about it, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, you're so right.
Mhm.
That make
I
that's
learned,
what
I learned, you know, being in that horrible relationship from like 19 to like 25. Those years was when it like fucked my head up so bad, and I didn't know how to deal. And that's another, like, there's many definitions of trauma, but one of them is when something happens too much too soon and you don't know what to do in that moment. It's, you don't have the like
you haven't
understanding to help yourself
you
because
haven't built the
it's
tools
boom,
yet to
boom,
be able
boom,
to.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I became a hypnotherapist, because I realized when you want to heal something, you have to go to the root of like, well, why are you drinking? Why are you smoking? And then you're like, well, because I don't want to feel what I felt then. So it's like, okay, but feelings have to be felt, period. Like, you cannot drink them away. They will be there tomorrow. You cannot smoke them away. You cannot, whatever vice you use, it is only temporary and will only add on and keep adding, until an avalanche of shit happens. And I have a lot of clients that do have like autoimmune disease. And since I'm actually in remission now, so thank God I'm not on any medication. I don't have any Graves' disease antibodies in my blood work. So it's like I'm free. But the thing is that a lot of people need to understand this, is that chronic stress can cause autoimmune disease.
Yes.
Like, if every day you are like, if your nervous system is dysregulated, and that's really what it is. That's like, if I could tell anyone anything, it's like, regulate your nervous system. Learn how to have a flexible nervous system so that when some shit happens, you can help yourself, guide yourself back to like homeostasis, a good, balanced, healthy, calm feeling. Because when you're like up there and you're stuck, you know what I mean, in flight or fight, for example, it's like you're just reacting. I mean, and you know what? Honestly, it's like there's no mindset work that will help if you have a dysregulated nervous system. Like,
No.
you're just trying to fucking survive. If you're in flight or fight, if you're in flight or fight, or you have a dysregulated nervous system, you're just in survival mode.
Well, you've noticed that you can't fly. You keep trying to take off because you don't want to fight, so you try to fly, and then you're like, you're so messed up that your wings, quote unquote, aren't even working. You can't fly away. So then, to avoid that circumstance, you start inducing addictions that will make you forget that you can't fight and that you can't fly, and they will keep you comatose in that space of being paralyzed, essentially. And when you do that, your whole body holistically, the nervous system and all that stuff, it is not firing correctly. It's not being tended to.
And then what's crazy is your body is your subconscious mind. So your body becomes what you're thinking about. Your body becomes, it's not even it becomes, it is
It is.
what you think about, and then eventually your body's like, girl, I'm done. I can't take anymore. Here's the result. And it's like that reflection, that look back. But this is why I call myself the reinvention coach, because I feel like I reinvented the fuck out of myself in that moment. Like, I went to college for 2 years and got a degree in hypnotherapy because I was like, I need to study this. My dad got cancer right when I graduated, and I did a hypnosis session for him, and he listened to it every night, and he's cancer free. Like, the craziest things happened. Like, I gave him a suggestion that he wouldn't get any radiation burns, and I would go with him. And the doctor would be like, okay, take off your shirt. I want to make sure that your burns aren't infected or anything. Like, no burn. And the doctor's like, are we even doing radiation here? He was like so confused.
That's amazing.
Yes. And so what hypnotherapy is just basically feeling, experiencing, believing, being, becoming the end result before it happens. So that's how it helped me with alcohol, because I was like, I'm already seeing myself turn down a drink. I'm already embodying and feeling what it's like to be sober for 10 years. I'm mentally rehearsing having a different type of drink at a bar while everyone else is drinking. Like, it's becoming and embodying it before it actually happens, because your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. Like, for example, if you go to a movie and it's scary and you're like, ah, and you like jump, that's because your subconscious mind thought that was a real threat. You know what I mean? And you really got scared. You really reacted. So when you go into hypnosis, it's a theta brainwave. So it's like a slower brainwave where your conscious mind is like asleep, kind of. Your conscious mind is just taking a chill. And I call your conscious mind the yeah, but. Your conscious mind is like, yeah, but remember that time? Yeah, but it interferes. It
Perfect.
interferes.
Yeah.
So hypnosis silences that part of your mind. And so your subconscious mind is just wide open.
Does it redirect it essentially though, from as opposed to like?
I wouldn't say it's redirected because your subconscious mind is always on. Even when you're asleep, your subconscious mind is still going. So it's more like it just silences it.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like almost like a deep sleep of your conscious mind. And in theta brainwaves is when your subconscious mind is the most suggestible. So you can suggest anything, and your subconscious mind will believe that it's real.
That's what I mean by redirection, in the sense of as that other voice that isn't serving you, that was being used, is now being redirected into words in a space that is actually beneficial and healthy because of the brain waves and the reprogramming essentially is what,
Yeah, yeah. So yes, so listen. So the conscious part of it, we have two parts of our brain. We have subconscious and your conscious. Your subconscious is 95% of your brain power. So it's like your beliefs, your memories, your habits, things you do unconsciously. Like when you drive home and you've gone this way a million times and you pull up in your driveway and you're like, holy shit, how did I get home? I wasn't even paying attention. Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, totally.
That was a subconscious program. Your subconscious mind took over because you do it so much that your subconscious mind, what it does is it remembers patterns and then starts to run them automatically.
Yeah,
So
because we
tying
are
your
a machine.
shoe,
We are a machine essentially,
yeah,
like
yeah.
right.
Tying your shoe, going to the bathroom, learning how to walk, like getting up off this chair right now. I don't have to be like, okay, I'm going to put my right foot down, then I'm going to push up and away, and my butt's going to lift off. Like your subconscious mind's like, oh, sitting up, program, got it. Like it just does things for you automatically, unconsciously.
Well, and you created that in your, and I believe in the space that is the most open and receptive to programming is which when we're children, right? You
Yes.
learned how to get up and walk when you were the most open to your consciousness, to your
Yes.
true essence. That's why I think it's so important if it's somebody does have stuff that is deemed from back then to really deal with that stuff, because those are the moments where you take things and it ends up becoming your life, the life that you live, because you were the most powerful back then. You can obtain that again. You can be in that space again with work like you're doing, thank God. And I'm so happy you're doing that for people. It's like, as you talk about it, like I'm emotional right now, but like you've always been this light, Erin. You've always been this person that just wanted to give and love and help people. You've always been that way. It's so beautiful to see like you living in your pure essence of what you're supposed to be doing on top of other things, but like just to really dropping into your gift, your giving in this space of who you are, who you were when you were little and programming. Before you were programmed, you came here, you were like boom, right? So to see you tapping back into that, I can see it in your eyes. Like I can see you back in that space of just creation. It's awesome. It's really, really beautiful.
Yeah, and that's why I think like what you're doing with your show is so freaking important because, like I said at the beginning, my story is not cute. It is not, wind blowing through my hair with an incense. You know what I mean? And
Most aren't.
a lot of times our stories and that rejection can feel like embarrassing. It can feel shameful. It can feel it's so vulnerable. And a lot of people want to glorify and glamorize the end result, but then no one shows the like ugly pits of hell that it took to get there. And the only way you get there is rejection, is redirection. You know what I mean?
Yep.
God having to say, okay, no, this isn't for you. And it's like gut wrenching. And you're like, why? Like for the longest time when that first happened to me, I was like, God, why is this happening? Like, what? This is all I know. What am I going to do? Like, I thought my life was over. And then now when I look back, I'm like, I would have never found this life coaching, hypnosis, online business if that didn't happen.
Mhm.
I would have never. And it's crazy because it's like I always say, like, trauma isn't sexy. And people always love talking about like what's hot, what's sexy, what's, you know what I mean, what's high vibe.
I'm a Scorpio, so to me, trauma is all I want to talk about because I need
Yeah.
to know if this, especially if being 41, trying to find a husband still, if we're not going to talk about your trauma, what you've dealt with, and why you are who you are today, and especially in LA, this never happens. Because if you do, then they're like, they don't want to talk to you again because they don't know how to handle that. They don't know what that is, right?
Yeah.
But to me, it is sexy. To me, there is nothing sexier than somebody who has dealt with their trauma and is
Yeah.
at the awareness that, oh, I will probably still deal with trauma in the future, but I am so equipped, especially having what I have, and maybe even you to deal with it next time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, that to me, that is sexy. To me,
It
that is
is.
the new sexy, honey.
Yes, that's a dating question. Like, tell me your trauma. Tell me how it changed you. Tell me how you healed it. Tell me how you're healing. Tell me what's next. Like,
And this is how I'm dealing with it. This is what I dealt with, and this is where I'm now. Girl, I've had those conversations with so many dates, especially in LA. I never hear from them again. I don't want to because there's nothing to talk about. They don't have that level of awareness, you know?
yes, yes. And like surviving, there's like a period after you go through something traumatic where you're surviving. What happened? You survived what did happen, but then you're surviving. And what's crazy is a lot of people like me for those I don't even know how many years it was, where I was continuing to survive the trauma. So it's not even just like that one time event. It's who you become after that. It's
Yeah.
how you live after that. It's what you believe after that that keeps the trauma going. So it's like you have to stop and you have to go, holy shit, what happened to me? Let me feel all the feelings and let me heal, upgrade my belief system, unbecome all the shit that I thought was real and true during that relationship, all the things that I picked up, you know? And a lot of people don't, well, like me, I didn't know. I didn't know, okay, now it's time to go on my healing journey. That was some fucked up shit, you know? Like, I wish I knew, you know? But
Do
yeah,
you? Well, I love what you said surviving too, because you can consistently be in a space of survival mode, or you can do the work, unpack some things, look at it, be honest with yourself, change your perspective, reflect, redirect, and you can be thriving instead of just surviving.
yes, yes.
Something came up right now. If it's not too much or too deep, and if so, we'll cut it. If we don't cut it, then you know that we're going to leave it. But was there anything like when you were in that relationship that, hmm, uh, was there anything? What was the what was the moment which you were able to like step out? See, when I was 26, I had an out of body experience, and it was with a guy that I was dating, and I was in New York, where I am right now, and I stepped outside of myself, and I looked at myself, and I was like, "Who are you?
Mm.
Who are you? This isn't you. You don't even know who you are right now. You are acting like all the things you were taught, learned. You've been in the industry since you were 9, so you've just been showing up. Who are you? Who
Ooh,
are you?"
such a powerful question.
And that's when my spiritual journey began. I've always been spiritual innately. I was. That's what I'm here. That's just it. I've always been that
And
way. I
that's
was
how
very
we found each other. Because our
100%.
souls were like, y'all gonna need each other one
Yep.
day.
Yep. Yep. And those days we needed each other so
Mhm.
bad. I, yeah, like you said, we were together so much. We shared so many experiences. I couldn't imagine those without you because being able to reflect on them now, it was pivotal to being who I am today, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So is there anything that like was the topper? And we don't need to talk about it if it's too deep, but just I'm wondering if anything is perking up in the brainwaves right now.
Tell me your question again. Like,
Was it a specific, was there like a moment where what was the moment when you were able to realize like when you're in it, you're lost in it. You don't see, you're participating in it unconsciously. When did you become conscious of the situation?
I think for me, towards the end, like even though that toxic relationship had ended, where I was like, "We are done. Get all your things, move it from my house." And when he would start breaking in at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, like waking me up out of my sleep, like breaking the door down to get inside my house,
Yeah, we'll do it.
that's when I was like, okay, I've ended this relationship and it's not ending. And I'm scared. You know what I mean? Like I have a stalker. Like someone's breaking into my house. I had to call the police. Like
Yeah.
that's when I was like, whoa, this is some real shit right here. Like I've chosen now to leave and end it, and he's not letting me leave. And that's where it goes from like toxic to like abuse. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, that's when I was like, ooh, this is something. And I think at the time, yeah, I was like 25, which to me at that time, I felt so young still, too young to be going through that, too young to be like, a part of like an abusive relationship, and those types of things there's such a stigma around it. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, shame, she was in an abusive relationship. Ooh, so shameful, so sad, but it's like, fuck it. If I have to be the one to heal out loud from those things so other people could say, hey, she doesn't look fucked up, and look, she's been a part of something so horrible, because it's like,
Yeah.
and I get it. There's some things that you go through where, maybe you don't speak about it, but I feel like my mission now in life is to heal out loud about everything, because there's somebody that was me in 2017, suicidal in their house, afraid to leave because they got an autoimmune disease. They have so much trauma. They don't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like I'm now being the person that I needed then.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
Make
that's
trauma sexy. Let's talk about our trauma. Everybody goes through it. Everybody has trauma.
it's so funny because I remember that specific kind of voice of what you're talking about, where that it was that narrative of like, oh wow, she's this, that, like that. What you that whole looking down on somebody for immersing themselves in that type of situation, or
Mm-hmm.
being, I remember those voices and certain cadences and stuff like that, and it's funny because I feel like those are the type of people who still lack the consciousness in which is necessary to like shift from the illusion that you can get so wrapped up in, especially in the entertainment industry of which we are in, and as back
Mm-hmm.
then, even in that different space. So
Yeah.
it's like deflect and avoid self. It's just
Yeah.
that consistent. Yeah. Yeah.
Bitch, back in that time though, I feel like people thought trauma was like COVID-19. Like you could get it if just by knowing somebody who went through it. People were like, oh, she's going through it. Run, hide before we catch it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so that time when we were in the industry around our mid 20s, it was like no, it was all ego. Nobody had, there was no, that wasn't it. That hadn't happened yet. That collective awakened living hadn't happened yet. Do you think?
um um the awareness, no. I think people like you, me, the people that I still have in my life, I think we were all doing it, though. We were
We were
doing it.
knee deep in the shit.
We were always spiritual in that space. Like
Mhm.
we were learning what it was, but we were in that space.
We
Like,
were living it.
there aren't many people that are there are, I shouldn't say that. That's not what I really mean, but like a lot of people that we hung out with in our 20s, and you so happen to find them in Hollywood, and that's just the experience we get to talk about. And yes, it is a common thing outside of Hollywood, and expands into all types of spaces in this world. But they're just, they don't come from that innate source spirituality,
Mm.
you know
Yeah.
um and I'm not talking about religion, because to me, religion is a government and it's organized. So I don't find spirituality in that. I know that other people do. I'm saying for me, that's not the way I operate. But the people I'm talking about, and we have all of us have been religious at one point, and some of us still are religious, and some of us aren't, or whatever that is. Um, they have this divine spirit kind of moving through them. You can tell, even looking back now, like, oh,
Hmm.
this was your path. This is why we were connected. That's why we call each other soul family. Like, it's just the path, right?
Yeah,
And
it's like someone you feel safe with. You're like, you're safe with me.
yeah, and you don't, and like you said, in our 20s, we didn't know what that was, right? We didn't
Yeah,
know, we just knew that we felt safe with you, like,
yeah.
like each other and those things.
Wow,
So,
that's so amazing. That's so beautiful.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, but we should start a campaign, about trauma because I just want everyone. Shame is like the lowest frequency on this planet, and it's something like even my worst enemy, I wouldn't want to feel shame, you know, and that's where disease comes from. Disease comes from stress, shame, and it's like you're insulating your body with this like low frequency, and until your body's like, here's a mirror, that's what this is what I am. I'm shame, I am depression, I am anxious, I am low self-esteem, I am anger, here it is, and it just like reflects back to you, your body shows you, and that's what I think panic attacks and anxiety and insomnia, it's like your body like, I can't hold this shit anymore, please
Trying to
heal,
tell you,
heal.
yeah. When I think of disease, I see it as like you said, shame. It looks like a dark substance, and it is gooey, and it is heavy. It's like
Mm.
tar. It's like it's quicksand. Like it's just so easy just to keep falling into it, and just it's not like a quick fall. It is just a gradual, like encompassing and taking,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
going down. Right? It's so low vibe and low frequency, and like speaking of spirituality too, it's just so interesting that there are so many modalities that run off of people feeling ashamed so that they can feel better, like they use that energy.
Mhm.
It is such a disservice to like actual growth and consciousness and being connected to source, God, energy, whatever that is.
Yeah,
That's low frequency. This other stuff is high frequency. It's gratitude, it's love, it's like it's light. That's what they
yeah,
call, that's what I mean by light. When I'm like, see, feel light, see the light, it's not like this light right here. You know what I mean? It's literally find that inside of you. Just affirmation. So that you can be light. So you're not like sinking into the mud of life. That you are like, and you're not like trying to get out of it anymore, pulling it. It's hard, and you're trying to get there. You've done that, and you finally are out, and you just start cleaning yourself off, and you clean yourself off with an ease, with an acceptance and a peace. You look at all the dirt on you, and you don't judge yourself until it's
yeah,
all gone, and then you just boom. Then
yeah.
you're really being
Yes. And that is the definition of taking your power back.
boom. You said it so short and quick.
It's literally, but you explained it. You gave the whole visual. I was like, and that scene was called "Taking Your Power Back" because literally, like when I got my left eye in 2017 pulled back, and then when I got pregnant with my daughter, my right eye did it, and I was like, okay, I literally almost killed myself 2 years ago because this eye was like disfigured. And then when I was pregnant, I had already healed from the previous, and I had to learn how to love myself again.
Yeah.
Because for a whole year, I couldn't look at myself in the mirror because I would just burst into tears and have like a full emotional, mental breakdown, you know? Um, and that's what I want to speak to too, is anyone who does have an autoimmune disease, anyone who does have any type of dis-ease, is that, like you said, it's so easy to fall into that low frequency, and it's so easy to believe limiting beliefs. It's so easy because you have physical proof.
It's manifesting in the physical moment.
Yeah, so
So
you're
you're
like, what do
creating.
you mean? Look at me, you know?
Yeah.
But then when you think, okay, who I am today is an accumulation of my past thoughts, my past beliefs, my past actions. This is an old version of me. Right now, in this right now moment, I am creating the future me.
Yep.
So I can choose to start thinking something brand new. I can choose to think higher quality thoughts. I can choose to upgrade and declutter my mental closet and clean it out so good that my thoughts, my energy, my beliefs, my actions, what I'm doing with my day, what I'm saying, how I'm being
Literally.
is a healed version of me. You know, you don't have to look at what already is and make that your proof. You don't have to do that. You can look at what already is and say, great, this is my starting point.
It can be the proof that you need to realize it's your starting point.
Yeah.
It's the proof that you can use to realize that this isn't actually me. I'm not really being authentic. I am a product of all of my surroundings that were never actually me. I got wrapped up in so many other things and people.
And just gained limiting beliefs. And then you start to believe them. And it's first you make your beliefs, and then your beliefs make you. So
Literally.
at any point, you can say, you know what? I don't want to believe this anymore. What do I want to believe now?
And I'm
Like,
not talking about housewives like belief in like my truth is my truth and it doesn't affect anybody yet like that. Like the Real Housewives. Where um, it's just narcissism. A lot of people are involved in this spiritual narcissism movement that's been going on for a while, right? Where they're like, well, my beliefs is my reality, that's all that exists. Well, yes, but no, because if you're being really authentic and you're really in your true self understanding of believing in things, it does impact other people around you. And those pieces are actually necessary for you to actually get to that highest point of understanding yourself. It can't just be blind on and like nothing else exists because
yeah.
this is working for me. It's such a trick and it's so common. And it's just another way of the matrix essentially fooling you to think that you're actually growing. But it makes great TV and I watch it because I feel
Yeah.
better about myself.
Well, I think too what you're talking about is it's like emotional intelligence.
Correct. Yeah.
You know? Like
Yeah.
when you're like emotionally intelligent, you're like, ooh, how are my beliefs affecting others? What are, you know, things like that. I think that's like that scenario. But yeah, definitely like beliefs in that, you know, when you do have an illness, you're like, my body hates me. My body's doing something without me. I don't even want it to be doing this, and it's doing this, you know, and so you start to feel defeated. But then when you realize, like, well, I choose to believe that I'm already healed. I don't have to use this current now moment as evidence that I'm sick. I can choose to believe that I'm already healed and start thinking on that frequency, feeling, being, existing on that frequency, even if my current reality isn't showing that, you know?
Well, because then that brings in the clarity. When you're clear and you're open in that space, you can start receiving the things and the tools necessary, working on the discernment, all those things to really become that healthy version of you. And
Yes,
then,
and you know what else?
huh.
Your body, there's trillions of cells in your body that never sleep. Like, y'all never take a break. Y'all never take five. Like,
Right, right.
you are working for me 24/7, trillions of cells. So, one thing I learned about healing myself and getting myself into remission was like talking to my body,
Mm.
you know, talking to your body. Like, what if y'all suffer with anxiety, write this down. Telling your body, like I like to put my hand on my heart, my hand on my like root chakra or your stomach or your womb or whatever, and hold yourself and say, I'm here with you right now.
Mm.
I'm here with you right now. You're not alone. I'm right here with you.
Ooh.
I'm right here with you. It's okay. It's okay. And just marinate and float in that energy and let your cells lay back and float in that divine intelligence and infinite love. I'm right here with you.
It feels like what I say is the universe is working with you and for you. And like when you realize that, like, I do think we're all made of the particles that create existence in the universe. When you give it that acknowledgement, it's like, it was interesting as I did it with you right now too. It's like when you're like, it's okay. I'm honored to be able to say like, I already know that. So I got to feed myself different words that were like more like, like, God, we're doing an incredible job. Like
Yes,
we are doing so great. You know, like that's what like lights me up now. It's like
yes, yes.
you know, I couldn't have said that years ago or whatever, but like it's nice to notice that shift too, because things keep kind of
Mhm.
like, you know, adjusting in the on the way.
Yes, yes. I love that. I love that. We're doing so good. And just like affirming to your body,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, just poking in to say thanks, just checking on you, because check this out. Your nervous system is like blind. Your nervous system is just going off of you, your
Yep.
thoughts, how you're perceiving the outside world. You're giving your nervous system that information.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, it's time to panic, something crazy is happening. Like, whatever internally is happening, you're giving the message. You've got the blowhorn to your nervous system, like, panic, I get a car, or like, I didn't get the job, or whatever. You're telling your nervous system how to react, how to respond. So when you just hold yourself and you're like, I'm right here, everything is okay, or like you say, we're doing great, thank you, thank you. I tell my body, thank you, like every 5 minutes since my eyes healed, since I'm in remission, I don't have to take medication anymore. I'm always like, thank you, body, so much. Thank you for giving me a second chance to do right by you. Thank you for letting me feel all the things that I needed to feel and allowing me to heal, you know?
Yeah. I I always say, to me, gratitude is the highest frequency in the universe. I don't think you can really understand and even connect with love, which a lot of people think is the highest frequency, if you don't really vibe at that space of gratitude. I think it just like notches you one level up. And when I was going on TikTok, which I don't do, it's a while ago, but I always just ask people just to be grateful for one thing throughout the day and just let that keep developing into, like you're saying, where there's multiple moments throughout the day where you're just grateful. And like in meditation, when it tells you to feel every cell, every piece of your body, to acknowledge it, like you just said to do here too, and just be grateful for it. Like I know in my shift of perspective, it was necessary for me to just, and I still do it to this day, where I'll be driving like, I'm so grateful that I can see, that I can breathe, that my limbs are capable of driving and adjusting accordingly to that accident that just happened, or that, that my heart is beating and my lungs are working. Every little thing I find gratitude in as much as possible. And it had to be forced at first because that wasn't innate. It wasn't natural. I shouldn't say that. It is innate. It is natural. But I forgot that through the process of absorbing the world around me that wasn't aware of that consciousness. So
Mm.
it's just, it's the best feeling in the world when you do that, you know?
I think I think the reason why it's the best feeling in the world is because that's the receiving mode.
Mm.
When you're grateful and when you're in gratitude and you're like going down a list of things to be grateful for, it's like you're a magnet, a literal human. I mean, whether we're grateful or not, we're human magnets.
Correct. Yeah.
But when you get into that gratitude, it's like my receiving mode is on. Whatever you want to give me, my light is on. My arms are open. I'm already here. Drop it off. I'm at the front door. You know what I mean? Like I'm already grateful. So like that's the receiving mode.
Yeah, I do believe that because I think in that space, then you can start receiving what's authentically meant for you, then, right? Like, I think we do create our world and our reality, absolutely. But when you start creating it authentically, when you do the work that you did and you're dropped into your center and your truth, and then you're just in that space of open and receiving, you can count on doing and being exactly what you're supposed to be doing and being. Even looking purple like I have this whole interview. I
Purple.
keep looking at myself and I'm like, I look so purple, but I'm like, it's okay. You know what?
No, I don't
I
think
just
you
have
see purple. I don't
I-
see purple.
maybe it's the lights that have started to blind me, and all I'm seeing is the hue of the
The
purple
reflection.
now.
That's the thing. That's why I hate those lights. I try not to use them because they're so distracting.
Yeah.
But we're doing great. You're doing great.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, you know what? It's all good. You.
I love I love that you said that though. I love that you said that to your body that you're doing great. And
Mm,
it's crazy because like we're constantly affirming shit to ourselves.
yeah.
Consciously or unconsciously.
People think I'm crazy for that, and I actually think I'm sane because of that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hello, we know that your cells in your body are real. They're really working together, you know?
stuff you're not taught, things that you don't learn, all these little tools that unlock that unlimited potential in you.
Mm,
I don't think it's by coincidence by any means,
yeah.
but hence why I'm doing this. Because if anybody if anybody can just hear this and start to learn anything that's going to help them be more in tune with themselves and find happiness and overcome whatever they're going through, even just to take on rejection or learn to deal with rejection, then mission accomplished. We're already getting up to our hour point, and usually I try to smack things in or whatever, like crush it all in. But I just think I have to have you back again soon.
Yes, I love that. We can go off.
Yeah, we'll
So
do
many more
another one.
things. Yes, I'm there.
Um, I'd, while we have some time left, though, if I did interrupt you too much and you didn't get to finish the trajectory of what you were getting to, I mean, you are embodying it now, so it's easy for me to say. But anything else you want to talk about in that sense of how it's led you to be? I mean, your
Mm.
daughter. When you said your daughter came in, I was like, oh, the universe knew not to make it both of your eyes, because if it was both of your eyes, you wouldn't have actually decided not to kill yourself. It waited till your daughter came to give you that, so that you were then able to say that thought can't even be a possibility anymore.
Oh yeah, I was so. I mean, after, and this is why, like hypnosis, I always say hypnosis heals because you're able to go into your subconscious mind and heal shit. Like when you're in your conscious mind, like I want to stop smoking, I want to lose weight, I want to stop drinking. Well, that's you're only using the 5% of your brain, your conscious mind. But when you use the 95% of your brain, your subconscious mind, it becomes an unconscious program automatically. But yeah, so when that happened, I was like, oh, I love myself. I'm so honored to be giving life. Like, I'm just so grateful, that I got through that. And what's so crazy is for the longest time, Gus, I didn't tell anyone about getting Graves' disease. I didn't tell anyone. And I literally had to do so much hypnosis about, self love, being seen, so learning how to share my truth, you know what I mean? Because like I said, this is not, the Himalayas and a glorious moment. It's so real and it's so scary and it's so ugly. It's terrifying. Anybody would be terrified if that happened to them. So I wasn't exactly wanting to share and talk about it until I did so much healing work. And then I was like, oh shit, this is my testimony. This is my story. And of course, it has to get you out your comfort zone.
Yeah, I mean,
Talk about that for a second. Can we talk about that comfort zone? It's so beautiful to build a 4-story house there with a jacuzzi and everything, and then you're like, oh, I have to actually share and help somebody else by telling somebody what happened to me. Great. So then I had to do so much work to come out, because once I healed from it, I was like, I'm never telling a soul. I'm moving on with my life. Woo! You know. But then
Steve,
I
that's
was
such
like, oh, this is my life work. I have to help other people get through this.
what that has been such a reoccurring theme in your life, like to just be like, don't talk about it, never really da, da, da. That's what I mean by like, I wonder. Uh, I guess, yeah, I wonder where that comes from. If
I
that all.
think it came from Hollywood, because I think the entertainment industry is like,
Yeah, that
sorry, I don't care what you're going through. Can you show up on time, on set, looking good, not complaining, not being bitter, and be a pleasure to work with? Yes
correct,
or no?
correct.
It's not like, oh, you're going through hell right now. Let me pray for you, or let me sit and meditate, or whatever. It's like, I think we were trained, because like you said, you were in the industry at 9. I started working professionally at 16. So it's like we were kind of groomed in a way to be like, look your best, don't complain, take criticism, and now when I look back, I'm like, oh, I didn't take that criticism. I took on that criticism as like a limiting belief about myself.
Totally same.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's where it came from, was like, oh God, how embarrassing if anyone knew I went through that, and then I realized, I was like, oh, that's the old version of me trying to protect me.
Yeah.
And now this new version of me is like, no, girl, this is your message. your mess is your message. You know, how
Woo!
you're going to help somebody else. You don't help anybody by being quiet
Yeah.
about what you've gone through, about what you know, about what, you were suicidal about. You don't help anybody by, it's almost selfish, you know?
Yeah, I'm careful with that though, because I kind of used that too, and it actually ended up turning around and putting. I already have felt it like an immense responsibility my whole life. So then when I felt like I was being selfish for that too, that it was kind of counterintuitive for me personally. It's just easier, just in the sense of being like, it's just easy to be this way. It's just better to be this way. Does that make sense for
Yeah.
me?
And I
For
meant
me.
I meant selfish for me because I was going into like the life coaching business
Uh huh.
and helping other people and doing hypnosis sessions. So I was like, well, how am I helping them? By staying quiet and being embarrassed to share what happened to
Oh,
me.
copy.
You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean? So I
yeah.
was like, that's selfish of me if I'm, this is a part of my story. And I'm telling you, like, once I started sharing what happened to me, how I got this disease, how I healed this disease, the toxic relationship. I mean, nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to go back and visit those things, and some people still haven't even healed from toxic, scary shit that's happened to them. Some people are still holding on to it. And now as they're aging, it's like, I can't sleep, I have insomnia, I have anxiety. And it's like, well, because you still have things alive in you from 10, 20 years ago.
They're still protecting themselves from something that happened 20 years ago because they haven't been able to look at it and realize that it's done and move in a different space. They're still living in that same energy field. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like how we said at the beginning, how like I was so successful, I was working so much, like with literal icons, you know what I mean,
Yep.
books, but still enduring and going through ongoing trauma. So it's like you can still be going through hell and be successful, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think, like you said, you couldn't show up to work and bring any of that with you. You had to show up. So you had to avoid. And why I think it's so amazing that there are any people at any age. I think it's really important for them who are interested in what you do to reach out to you, because like imagine having that resource of you in your 20s. Whole
Ugh,
different world. Whole different world, right?
yeah. It would have collapsed time, and that's what hypnosis is collapsing time. You're able to, what in talk therapy would take someone 10 years of regurgitating, this happened to me, and then maybe the therapist saying, well, this is why this happened. And it's like, I don't need to know why it happened. I need to heal it so that I can embody it as wisdom and move the fuck on. And
Yeah. I'm with you 50-50 on that. I don't need to know why, because there are parts of me that when I know why, then it feels like that why question can be a disservice if you keep asking it. Like that's something I've been saying the last couple of years, even to people. It's like, stop trying to figure out why things are happening. Just find the clarity of what's healthy for you to move in that space. Find you and your authentic self and where you vibe, because if you start going to the why, that might bring too many things. There are good questions to ask, of course, because
mhm,
that's a part of the reiteration of the journey of figuring it out. But
of
if you start to
integrating what happened.
when you rely on that reliving of what happened and why, like you said, it's that fine balance of like, okay, maybe I don't need to know why. I just need to reprogram and move
Yes, yes,
forward,
yes, yes,
and
yes.
then that will probably come to me once that clarity comes, and I'd be like,
In
okay,
hindsight,
okay, right,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. And that's why hypnosis is so freaking powerful because it just collapses time. It's like you don't need 10 years, 5 years, of talking about what happened, of examining it and like picking at the wound. You need to actually get in your body and heal it
Yeah.
and let it go and then embody it as wisdom. And then, you can keep moving forward.
Speaking of moving forward in wisdom, where can people find you?
Okay, so if you've dealt with trauma, if you feel like you've never healed your trauma, if you feel like you've gained you're wearing your trauma, you're identifying with your trauma and you want to stop. If you have symptoms like anxiety, insomnia, depression, you feel chronic stress every day, you feel like you're in survival mode, please DM me at Erin Yvonne. I have a 4-session program that I use for myself to help heal myself, and literally thousands of women I've worked with now, and helped and get incredible testimonies. A lot of my soul sister clients literally come to me on anxiety and depression medicine, and we get to wean them off. I worked with their doctor, and we weaned them off so that like by the end of our 4th session, they're like done, like no longer on meds, able to, because when you heal the root cause, turn off the inner alarm that was going off inside of you. When you turn that off, you're like, oh, I don't need to
The medicine.
Yeah, I don't need it. I know, and then you can move forward.
Yeah.
So Erin Yvonne, or you can find me at erinyvonne.com. Yes.
You have done incredible things. You have been at the top of the dance industry, and you've done so many amazing things. It's hard to think that you can top it, and you are. This is probably the most amazing thing that you could have ever done, and I can't wait to see what amazing things keep following on this next part of your path and journey as you keep living in these next years, times, moments to come. Um, it's a shame it took so long for us to reconnect because it's been so long, but to do it in this space right here, um, it was just really magical, and I'm so proud of you, and thank you so much.
That means so much. And anybody watching, if you feel like you've been rejected, like I need you to know that that's just the beginning of your life.
Yeah, don't let it set you back, or else it will be the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love you, sister.
I love you.
You're
We
coming
went
back.
deep. We went deep.
Good. That's the way I like it.
We need that, a warning. Warning. This is not a trip to the Himalayas. Your ass will go through some shit by listening to the story.
Yeah, you know, like we weren't blessed to just be able to be like, I'm gonna go on a retreat to the Himalayas and figure out what my trauma is and deal with it. Like we didn't have that accessibility, and bless the people that do great. You know, our circumstances are different, and we still got there. And it wasn't pretty, it was gritty, and it was ugly. But actually, it is kind of beautiful when you watch it back and you kind of just look at it all. If it's a movie, I mean, I'd be watching it with a smile on the face all the hard times personally, just thinking, wow, you handled that. Good job.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said that like a movie, because I always tell my clients, I'm like, you are the creative director, you are the writer, you are the main character of your movie. And it's like, how long do you want to be in survival mode when you don't have to be? You know, how long do you want to, like, what type of movie do you want to live? What is your life movie like right now? You can change it at any freaking moment. You can change it.
We all want the happy ending to exude, or we want the wisdom or the lesson to be learned at the end when we watch a movie, right? So make sure that your movie is that way, as opposed to it not involving any of the good stuff that we look forward to witnessing when we're watching the film.
And you don't even have to have a happy ending. It could be a happy middle. It could be a happy journey.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think endings happen like almost every day. They're like our moments where just endings can continue. It's not that end that we think of, like death end, or like, you know, like it's the end. There's so many endings and beginnings as we are consciously awake and living in this experience. So
I love you. We realize we can an episode.
We're coming back. We're gonna end this now because we're over an hour and 8. People are looking at me like, I can't watch for an hour and 8 minutes.
Right.
Just watch and listen. My best friend Debbie just sent me a much needed DM, and she was like, you were my I got to listen to you and Goalie while you on my drive to work. You were my entertainment on drive to work. And yes, it is a podcast like that. Yes, you can see these beautiful guest faces, but you all can just hear our voices, and it's gonna have the same exact impact. So don't be afraid of the time limit. We could go on and on and on, and that just means it's been a great talk. And I love you. You're gonna come back. We'll talk more.
Yes, love you. Mwah.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. But most importantly, go out there today and get rejected, you beautiful rejects. I am Gustavo Victor Carr, and this is Rejection and Reflection. Until next time.